recently returned to writing comics after a good long while away. What's changed creatively while you've been gone? How do you feel?
Not as much as I would have thought, frankly. I'm working.
We got 5 minutes and then we got to run.
Okay.
I'm working with an editor who shares my vision, which is great. I mean, Mike Carlin's been my editor on Legacies, and we were seeing the book exactly the same way, so there's no arguments. I mean, in the old days, part of it was I was my own editor for much of the time, so whatever I wanted to do, I did. Nowadays, I have to get someone else's okay to go ahead and do the same things. But generally, I'm having the same fun I used to have.
What do you consider, I mean, you, in both the editorial side and the writing side, you've had your hands in legends.
I got blood up to my elbows.
but looking back, I mean, from Swamp Thing to Watchmen to JLA, what do you look back and say, this is something, this is what I'm the most proud of on the DC side at least?
I mean, I'm extremely proud of 11/12 to the Watchmen.
Really?
I never liked the last issue. I mean, this is not news. I've said this everywhere. I said this to Alan constantly. I always thought the last issue was an episode of The Outer Limits. And he acknowledged it finally to have someone watching that episode, but I never agreed with it. Otherwise, I thought it was brilliant. Just an extraordinary piece of work. I'm proud of the work on Swamp Thing. I mean, I'm proud of most of what I've done. Everyone's got some stories here and there, and I will not tell you which ones they are, or you kind of go, yeah, I didn't do that. Really. No, if you go back and check, I really did write that stuff. But mostly, I'm proud of the work I've done. I stand behind what I've done. This is what I wanted to do, and this is what I put my heart into. So if my heart's there, I've got to have the rest of me there with it, I guess.
What was interesting to me is that recently you returned to the Watchmen property for the video game.
Yes, I did.
And how different was that as far as scripting a video game from just a comic and even from writing an editorial? How did you find that transition to be?
Well, it's a different kind of universe. You write in chunks. You write in storytelling chunks. And then there's video action chunks, which is predominantly a lot of ancillary dialogue. A lot of cursing and calling each other names and threatening each other's mothers and going on from there. When I wrote the sections that were going to be animated, fully, CG animated, I wrote it as if I was writing a screenplay. And I found it was the easiest way to approach it. So each of those sections was written filmically, if that's a word. If not, it is now. But it was fun working the property. I certainly had the ear. I knew how the character sounded, so it was fun to write in Alan's voice. If that's the way to approach it. I mean, I knew Rorschach and Night Owl. I had those guys down.
So you say that you're not happy with the final issue of Watchmen. What about the film ending? Did that make you? Was that closer to what you liked?
It was better because it wasn't quite exactly on the money. I did like the fact that they still put squid as an acronym on the wall. But the premise of the Outer Limits episode was called The Architects of Fear, about scientists who build an alien to threaten the world so the whole world will come together.
Right. And so that's your beef.
And the problem was, what did they do? They built a big alien so the world would come together. It's exactly the same ending. Changing it to the atomic blast or whatever it is they did in the film, I thought worked better. I thought the film was better and worse than the original property in some ways. I thought it hewed too closely in places it didn't need to, and not closely enough in places it did. But overall, I thought it was a terrific film, based on the book.
Looking at the ending from sort of a post 9/11 view, where it was this theoretic huge attack on New York City that brought the entire world together, and to a certain extent, not to the great extent in watching it, but we did see that, and the world isn't all pulled together. How do you view that now, looking back? How do you think about the ending now?
Well, I don't think we were thinking about it politically when we did it. It was more storytelling, and the real world has impediments that comic book world does not have. In the comic book world, they were dealing with Nixon's fifth term. We had to deal with George Bush,
right,
who took all of that great sympathy that the world had for the United States and squandered it in 6 months. And that was part of the problem. If it had a different president, perhaps it would have turned out more like The Watchmen.
It was somehow worse than The Watchmen.
It was, unfortunately.
Sorry.
Are there things that have come out of comics that you've written, things that you've created subsequently that other people have done that you've been particularly happy to see?
Well, I like very much most of them. And Alan did certainly with Songbook. People always ask me, "What do you think?" I was his editor. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't have let him do it. I brought him over. I thought he did some brilliant, inventive things with that. Other characters here and there. It's always nice to see certainly some of the characters move on to other mediums. Watching Morgan Freeman play Lucius Fox can always make my day. I'm happy any day I can see that.
Now, with the legacies going on right now, you're moving through a whole bunch of different timelines from a very storied history. Is there one that you said, "Wow, this is my favorite"? Is there,
the fanboy kid, and I mean literally that guy. My favorite page of the entire project so far is the last page in issue 1, where Paulie holds up Life magazine and it's the cover of All Star 3. And I went, and I still do. I look back at that issue and it's only a couple months old and I go, That was my favorite fanboy geek moment. I was like, yeah, there you go. We did it. It's perfect. Because Joe and Andy did that cover, which is an iconic, one of the great iconic comic book covers, and they did it so much better. They really improved the postures and everything's just like, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Excuse me, just blanked.
I was just going to say I just got the most recent issue. It's so wonderful to see you working with Garcia Lopez again.
Jose and I are old friends, and some of the stories I'm most proud of, just random single issues and things, are all drawn by Jose. I mean, he's just one of the great storytellers in the history of the business, one of the unsung heroes. I think he's a much better artist than the industry's ever given him credit. Well, not the industry. We know. The fans have ever given him credit for.
I think a lot of times, if you see DC product, it is Garcia Lopez or sometimes Neil Adams.
He's really, I mean, his body language, his posture. There's a panel in issue 4 after the first JLA JSA team up, the new incarnation of it, because the universes are now different, where it's a half-page shot of the 6 villains being carted off into the paddy wagon, and Vicky Vale and dozens of other reporters interviewing the JLA and the JSA, and there's people getting autographs, and it's the most extraordinary panel. I mean, it's just half of it's just people stuff, little bits of business that he does. He's so human. He's such a human artist.
Do you kind of look at legacies as, since what we're talking about is the 75 years of DC, is legacies kind of your chance to take the 75 years of DC and with all of the different retcons and how things have changed, fit it all together in a coherent narrative?
I don't want that responsibility. But that's sort of what I'm doing. I mean, you just read 3. One of the things I'm proudest of is finding a way to fit in the Western comics and the science fiction comics and the adventurer comics.
Strange Adventures.
I fit them all into the continuity.
Beautifully.
I was so proud of myself. My favorite line in the entire maybe 10 issues is, you remember when you were a kid and you wanted to wear a coonskin cap just like Tomahawk? And I went, yep, there you go. Nails it all.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to revisit, or anything else that maybe looking back you didn't get to do yet, and you're still itching to do?
No, I have been extraordinarily fortunate over the years. There's very little I haven't had a chance to put my hands on and ruin. No, I mean, I'm thrilled to still be doing what I love to do. I mean, I've worked in every medium. I've written screenplays and animation and novels and video games and you name it. And there's nothing I get the same joy out of that I get from comic books. And the fact that I'm still able to do what I love most in all the world and have people like what I'm doing is wow, what a privilege. I mean, how many people get that opportunity in their lives?
Is there any one character that you haven't been able to work with yet that you really just want to...
Or artists.
Or artists.
Oh, yeah.
Or both.
Well, no, I'm getting to work with some of the guys I never got to work with on this project. I mean, I've still got guys like Dan Jurgens and Gary Frank coming up. I've got Brian Mullen doing one of my backups, and Walter Simonson's doing another. And the people working on this book. If I'm lucky, whoever I miss, I'll be able to catch before we're done with this. There's 3 more backups to assign. There must be 3 guys out there. I'm going, yeah, I haven't worked with him yet. But I'm having the best time ever. I mean, I think this may be the best book I've ever written overall, but I certainly don't want it to be the last. I would like to keep going because I have other projects on the horizon for DC afterwards. But
Anything else? Anything maybe you could tease at all?
Not yet.
No?
Stuff going on Brightest Day. There's stuff going on Brightest Day that if you think it through, might give you a clue.
I would love to see your Dead Man stuff collected sometime.
Thank you. I loved writing Dead Man. I'd write Dead Man. I have the weirdest range of characters I love. The Metalmen. And then, are they in 3 or 4? Are they in 3? No, they're in 4.
Yes, okay.
Who?
Yeah.
Sorry.
The Metalmen. Well, once
yeah.
the Justice League started, other groups started popping up. So
And you had that amazing J.H. Williams piece in it. That was interesting.
that was my favorite challenge. It's not my favorite story. My favorite story is the backup to number 4, which is the reunion of all the DC War characters on the Bicentennial Day, 1976, July 4th, drawn by Joe Kubert.
Oh, wow.
They've all come to drink a toast to the memory of Frank Rock.
All right.
That's
good.
It may be the best story I've ever written. But, I'm getting the point. I mean, the Metalmen pop up in issue 4 because I like writing the Metalmen. So, stuck them in. I have a chemo sequence in issue 5 with George because I like writing chemo. I'm getting to play with characters still, and I get. But I mean, I love writing Dead Man, but I love writing Plastic Man. There's a wide range of characters you get to play with in the DCU, and I haven't really used Plastic Man much in this because it's not appropriate. But other people, there's still that great shot in the second issue of Plastic. But anybody I feel like it gets to pop up.
I know a lot of people who are saying they're getting this in singles, and they said I got to get this in hardcover.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a beautiful collection.
Do you know if it's going to be in hardcover?
I don't know if it'll be in hardcover. I would be surprised if it's not.
Okay.
Considering what its intent is, and the whole point of it being the 75th anniversary, this is kind of here we are and what we are. I would be stunned if they don't collect it in hardback.
Well, keep on Bob Wayne and then bug him about it.
Well, Bob's a great guy. Bob is the one
Bob.
who made it possible for them to finally reprint my other 3 issues of Swamp Thing when they did the library, the hardcover. He said, these are great stories. We love these stories. They have been reprinted a lot. No, I'm not complaining because I see money. I'm happy. He said, you got to do something different. There are 3 more issues which are just as good that have never been reprinted. It's because Bernie didn't draw them. You need to put them in here. And they did finally. So all my issues got collected in 1 volume, which is a lovely, beautiful book.
Now, we were just talking to Denny, and I remember I read a story of him. He was talking about after Batman Begins came out, he didn't get story credit, even though he and Neil had a lot to do with Ra's al Ghul. But I understand he said in the book that they invited him, they gave him a nice opinion. Yeah. Is there anything going on? I mean, you've been involved in so many things. Is there anything that you look at and you're like, hey, that's awful familiar there?
Well, no, I usually, there's a great quote from Michelangelo who says, where I steal my ideas, I leave my knife. Which I always say is one of the great quotes of all time. I know where my stuff is being used. And if it's DC, I see money. No, I have done insanely well off of Lucius Fox, just because of the 2 Bat movies, if nothing else. And I always thank Paul Nevitz, who made me take a contract. I kept saying, it's a middle-aged guy in a suit, who cares? He says, take the creator contract. And I did, thank God. After the fire, it sort of helped pay for the brand new house.
Sorry to hear about that.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Especially your puppy, your dog. That was terrible.
We love that dog so much. But,
I'm sorry, I totally brought everybody down.
Thanks a lot. But all my DC stuff, Swamp Thing, any of my oddball things, some of the ancillary Green Lanterns who will be in the movie, I'll see money off. I don't see a penny off of any of the books. I see money off of reprints. I will give them credit. When they reprint my material, I do see reprint or what they call incentive payments. But I haven't seen a penny off the movies or the toys. I see money off of all the DC toys made off my character. I don't see a penny off any of the Marvel stuff.
Well, I'm glad we're here at the DC.
Me too. I know why I'm on their documentary and not Marvel's.